Hi guys, so today we're going to have a look at the E-11s that the Sandtroopers and the TKs used in A&H. So we'll start with your standard Blastech Industries E-11. They actually rented these out from a company called Bapty Co. I'll start with the counter. So that's the Hengstler counter. I think it's model 400. These, a lot of people call them power cylinders. So there was some sort of electrical conductors. Then a shortened magazine. So they had 9mm bullets in them. Okay, the scope, that was a 1942 M38 scope. I think there was a couple of similar ones that it was used as well. So the springs, we put them on as neat as we possibly can. When you look at the screenshots, they were absolute mess really. So at least this way you can pull them about and move them around until you're happy with them really, or you can just leave them like that. So the blaster was actually built off a Sterling Mk4 L2A3 submachine gun. It fired 9mm rounds. So that's a quick look at that. I'll have a look at the Bapty now. That's the Bapty that was used by the Sandtroopers. So in order to be able to take a blaster or machine gun over to Tunisia to film and not need firearms experts to go with them, they asked Bapty Co to break them down and get rid of anything that could make it still usable as a real gun. That way, and once they broke it down, it could go to Tunisia, back to England, then over to America and back again. So they didn't really need the right documentation because of the fact that it was unusable as a gun, so which made customs okay about it. So what they did, they actually cut the back end off right there, and then they fabricated a new back end pretty much that slotted into it. They took out the firing pins, they took out the whole handle, all the trigger, all the mechanisms, the spring, the lot, and they, from what I can gather, they put a wooden pole in with this on the end of it, slammed it up, so that's the wooden pole painted silver. Obviously they just put a screw with a bit of tube on for the cocking handle. They just completely gutted it so it could never be used as a real pistol or machine gun. With the actual Sterling that they used, they actually fired blanks out of it. You can see it actually ejecting the blank cartridges in some of the shots. Bapty Co, they're a company that they supply props to the movie industry, and they pretty much have a collection of machine guns, pistols, you name it. They'd ready them up really for the film industry, and if they want 20 Sterling submachine guns, they'll rent them out to them. There's a few differences from between the Bapty and the E-11. They both have the same scope, both have their Hengstler counter and the power cylinders. With the Bapty, another way that they nullified being able to use it, they took the end off the magazine and they rammed a piece of wood down there as well. So they've done everything they possibly can to make sure it can't turn back into a weapon. Even the trigger guard came off. So as you can see with the Sterling that the Stormtroopers used, you can see the trigger and the trigger guard. With this, they got rid of the whole of the mechanisms and the guard, so they even had to make that for it as well. So it is slightly bigger. It is an absolutely amazing gun. If you look down here, see these, I suppose the cooling holes, they're all around the machine gun. Now to make it look more spacey, they put T-tracks on as well. So they both have the T-tracks. So they just kind of bent them, stuck them in the hole on one end, then cut them to length and bent them again, just pinched them in all the way around it. As well with the Bapty, There's no springs. We're still learning. There's still people finding pictures of them, and I appreciate it if people can send me any more pictures, but we're still learning. From what I can gather, there was no springs, or if the springs were put on, they were pulled off. This was another thing that they both had. If you look on top of the scope, there's a small block. I think that's electrical again. I think there's like 14 notches in it, 7 on each side. You won't see them on many screenshots because they were just super glued on. So if you imagine how battered the Stormtroopers got, these were easily knocked off. Same with the springs. There's quite a few screenshots of Stormtroopers without the springs. They were just knocked off because they were very fragile. So if you want a blaster just for the Sandy, it's the Bapty all the way. Now if you want a general blaster for the Sandy and the TK, just get your regular A&H E-11. Simple as that. But for me, the Bapty, I don't know, there's something about it. It's great. But then that's amazing as well. I'd be spoilt for choice, to be honest. Right, so if you fancy buying a Bapty of your own, there's an auction coming up. You can get one if you want. The starting bid is $35,000. So I'm expecting that to go a bit higher. If you don't want to spend that sort of money, you can get one with our commissions for a snip of the price. That was the A&H blasters, well, the A&H E11s. There's going to be a part 2, and we're going to be talking about the ESB blasters. I'm not even going to touch on that now. That's for next time. So, laters.